So yes, we were done with the introduction of the two phases we have in glycolysis, oxidative and preparatory phase, which is also known as investment phase. So in this video, we are going to look after the 10 steps together of the glycolysis, because 5 are divided into oxidative and 5 are divided into preparatory phase. So first, let's look at preparatory phase because that's the basic. Then in preparatory phase, you will find 5 steps as I just told you, and you need to remember that 5 steps, and that 5 steps I will just write after. So first, we know glyco, which means glucose, and lysis, wherever you see the word lysis, which means breakdown. So breakdown of glucose is known as glycolysis. Okay, so glucose would be taken, of course, in this ATP, which would be converted into ATP, because this is the preparatory, preparatory phase is also an investment phase. Here you will not get any benefit, but in preparatory phase 2 ATP, I will also write key points. 2 ATP which will be consumed here, 2 ATP which will be taken. That's the main point. I will write few main points as well. Which color should I use? Yes. Okay, so here this means glucose, which ATP would be converted to ADP, and that will make glucose 6 phosphate. Glucose 6 phosphate. Okay, and here the enzyme which is used is known as hexose kinase. This is very important point you need to remember. I think it's creating mess when I'm just writing. Okay, so we have hexokinases, which is an enzyme, and this will make the product, like first step product is glucose 6 phosphate. Okay, because glucose cannot be counted, because glucose have been taken. We know glucose will break down to form a lot of things. So first step is glucose, and it will make glucose 6 phosphate. The enzyme used here is hexokinase, and the first step of uh, preparatory phase is phosphorylation. Phosphorylation. So let's start with the second phase. Then from glucose 6 phosphate, it will form fructose 6 phosphate. There's difference glucose and fructose. It will form fructose 6 phosphate. So the enzyme which have been used here is known as phosphoglucose isomerase, whereas fructose and uh, fructose, which is making glucose, which is making fructose 6 phosphate, and the enzyme is phosphoglucoisomerase. And this step is the second step. Here what step is this? What is this step? This is isomerization. This is isomerization. This is the second step. Then third step is from fructose 6 phosphate. It will form fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. One phosphate would be added. This means fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Here ATP would also be used. Like as I just told you, 2 ATP would be used. So first time it has been used, and second time ATP, which would be converted into ADP. So it means 2 molecules of ATP have been used. And this the third step. Enzyme use is phosphofructose kinase. The third step named as phosphorylation. Phosphorylation. Okay, then after fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, it would be like after fructose 1,6 phosphate, this process known as splitting. Splitting, let me just write it for this phase is known as splitting. Splitting is simply when things are divided into two phases. So this fructose 1,6 phosphate, 1,6 bisphosphate, it would be divided into two phases. First is GLAP and DHAP. So first is GLAP. In this you will see this is known as G3P phosphate, and the third DHAP is dihydroacetone 3 phosphate. This is dihydroacetone phosphate G3P.